My name is Sarah Husby, a local real estate agent in the Southwest Puget Sound area of Washington State. In this series of videos, I focus on the home buying and selling process. Are you thinking about buying or selling a home and considering conducting a home inspection? Today, I've enlisted Justin, a home inspector from Pillar to Post, to show us what exactly happens during a home inspection. From the interior to the exterior, Justin takes us through a house and points out areas they focus on and provides us with some education along the way. Today we are talking home inspection. If you're buying or selling a home, you have to determine if you want to conduct a home inspection. I've enlisted a friend of mine, Justin, from Pillar to Post, to help explain and help us understand what all is conducted in a home inspection. I am here with Justin from Pillar to Post, and he is a home inspector, and he's going to share with us some of what they do when they're conducting a home inspection. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Justin. My father and I recently opened up our own home inspection business, and one of the ways we like to conduct our home inspections is we like to educate people. Our big goal is not just walk into a house and show people what's wrong with it. We're there to show them what they can do to fix those problems and why no problem is insurmountable. It's
Perfect.
really important that they know what's happening, why it's happening, and what they can do to fix that problem.
So what area do you service? We're here in Washington State.
So our primary focus is the Kitsap County area.
Okay.
But we are growing business and we are slowly expanding outside of that. So we've done jobs all the way on Sequim,
Okay.
Aberdeen, Tacoma area. So we primarily do focus in the Kitsap area though. We're
Perfect.
willing to go wherever you need us.
All right, perfect. All right. And so why would somebody want to conduct a home inspection?
The home inspection is really important for the home buyer. A, because we want to know if there are any major problems like that. You know, it's easy to miss a foundation problem. It looks like a small crack. You need to know the history behind that small crack in the foundation and what that means to the overall home.
Absolutely.
And there's a time that we can call in qualified specialists that are able to deal with those problems that exceed our knowledge.
Okay.
But we need to know when that time needs to happen, and half the time it's not really that big of a deal. You see a little bit of water in the crawl space. Where's that water coming from? You know, you need to know those questions to ask. So that's the big part, is learning that education process. Other than that, I really have to say that education is the most important tool that we offer. A lot of people don't realize what goes into owning a home and the maintenance of the home. You've seen people with trees growing out of their gutters,
Yes,
moss
I have.
on the roof,
Yeah.
you know, shingles falling off and the siding's warped. Why is the siding warped? You need to know what kind of siding you have, what can cause those problems. Is it wood siding that's warped? We might have a really big water damage. Is it a vinyl siding and it's warped? We might have something reflective that's kind of heating up the side of your house. And all of those have different solutions to those problems.
Okay, perfect. Would you mind, we'll use this house and you can point out some things, areas that you focus on and show us?
Absolutely.
Perfect. Let's get some education. Okay, so when it comes to the interior of the house, the main infrastructure of the house is hidden behind walls. So how do you focus on determining the interior of the house and how, you know, it's working?
So that's a great question. This is a good example because with a finished basement like this, we're actually kind of being detectives right now, and that we're pulling clues from the visible material that we have on hand. You can see right here we have a water heater,
Right.
And our furnace. This is a great example because the limited amount of exposed material we're going to have is going to be visible right here. So this is a great example of using our detective skills. So based on the house that was built in 1978, we know that we don't need to worry about lead-based paint anymore because lead-based paint was banned in 1978. So we're going to look at this right here. We're going to see copper pipes coming out of the wall, and that lets us know that this house is primarily copper-based. It fits the age of the house, it fits the visible amount of piping that we're seeing, so that's how we document what we expect to see. We're also looking for seismic strapping, which is a really new requirement for water heaters. So that means that this has been taken care of and updated before 1978. So between now and then, they've come in here, they've serviced the unit, they've replaced it probably once or twice because water heater is good for 15 to 20 years. And they've done the code upgrades to make sure that it's compliant. That brings us over to our stuff like right here where we have a forced air furnace with a air conditioner. Good example of a service maintenance item is we look at the filters. Have they been taking care of the house? When you open this up, you can see inside that the filters are in good shape, they've been maintained. And that may not be the only indicator of how well the unit was maintained, but it's a great indicator that the homeowners have taken the time to do the proper maintenance for it. So this is every home inspector's dream. This is our attic access. This is what we hope for every time we walk into a house. What we're looking for here is we're looking for good insulation and make sure that the vapor barrier is facing the right way. A big issue we have with vapor barrier is a lot of people think that it should go out. It actually goes in towards the conditioned part of the house. So when you see the craft paper, the plastic, or in this case, the Mylar, we wanted to be able to see that because that's the way we know it's installed properly. It's keeping water from coming into the house with extra moisture. One thing we're looking at is if you look right here around the base, you can see signs of previous water damage. So it's an old house. It's about 40, 50 years old. We know that at some point there was a little bit of water coming in here. It looks like we see old staple marks where they took the insulation from the wall and pushed it up against the eaves. And we also have, so we've done the repairs, the updating, and now this is a historical sample of water damage. It's not active. It's currently raining. It's been raining for the last 7 days and it looks good and dry. So that's how we write it up as a historical problem that's been remedied and is a non-issue. So in Washington, you're required to have both a CO2 detector and a smoke alarm in your house, in every bedroom, and at least one on every floor in a general living area. A lot of people don't realize that smoke detectors actually expire every 10 years. They should be replaced. So this house was built in 78, that's 53 years. This should be the 5th generation of smoke detector that's been in this house. Probably not the case. Most people look at them, see them, they forget about them until they start chirping for new batteries. The CO2 detector is especially important. A lot of people are under the assumption that CO2 either settles or it rises in the homes. That's not the case. CO2 is actually considered a mixing gas. So it disperses equally throughout a room, and that makes people susceptible to it because they think they need to place it on the floor for it to be most effective. As long as it's in the room, it will be doing its job in protecting you from any CO2 damage. So here we are in the bathroom. We're going to talk about plumbing real quick. This is a great place to verify. If we look underneath the sink here, you can actually see there's a little bit of copper pipe exposed. We also have some areas right here where we can see the exposed copper coming through the wall. And that just verifies what our assumptions were earlier and lets us know that we're on the right track of making those calls. A big item we have here is our bathtub. Everybody loves a bathtub. Everybody loves a jetted bathtub. But the truth is that everybody fills it up one time, and then 5 years later when they're selling their house, they wish they used it more. So this is a good service item that we want to go over, just because it gets neglected and it's easy to skip over. That water's been sitting in those pipes for 5 years if you haven't used it. So when we turn on that pipe for the first time, we're going to see some discolored water, and that shouldn't raise any alarms for us. What we're going to do is we're going to look inside. We're going to turn it on, fill it up just above the jets and turn it on, and be aware that there's going to be a little bit of cleaning involved. These do require periodic maintenance to keep clean and maintain. So it's one of the easy things to really look over. So here we are in the kitchen, and this is probably everybody's favorite room to gather. It's probably the most used room in the house. This is a lot like what we did in the bathroom where we're testing out the appliances. There's a lot more appliances to test. We'll turn on the stove and stuff like that. One of the big things we see is GFCI outlets in the houses right here. So anything within 3 feet of a water source needs to be protected by a GFCI. You see it here. It doesn't have the buttons that you're used to seeing. But you look down here, and here it is. And this is a good example of everything downstream from this outlet through the rest of the counter is protected by this single outlet. So even though you don't see one within 3 feet, just know that it is doing its job, and we're going to verify that this is actually covered and protected. So that's a very important feature that all kitchens need to have. So this house is a great example of the importance of ventilation. This is an open concept house, which means that odors, moisture, all that stuff can emanate from here into the rest of the house. Here we have a great range. It vents straight through the roof and out. And this pulls air and moves air through the entire house out through here and the stove as well. So this level of ventilation is great because we're pulling all of this up here and ventilating it properly to the roof. We verified in the attic that there's no leaks, so we know that's going outside and the building envelope's intact. So here we are at the home's distribution panel. This is the electrical heart of the house where all the power comes and it goes out to the rest of the house. So it comes in from the utilities and then right here. So when you open this up, you see the main disconnect. This is supposed to have 3 movements or 6 movements or less to get there. Opening the box is a movement, flipping the switch is a movement, and that would kill the power of the entire house. We look at this flat panel, and one thing we see right away is that it's completely full. It's not great because if there's any other upgrades that come in the future, let's say this homeowner decides to buy a Tesla, he's going to have to install another sub box just so that he can get the electrical requirements necessary to add that to his utility service. When we open it up real quick, we'll take a look inside. Living in Washington is a blessing and a curse. Washington has great permitting standards and requirements for the house, which means that every time that they do anything electrical to the house, that it has to be permitted by the county. The county will come out here and verify all of that work and make sure that it meets the standards. So when we open this up, we don't expect to have any problems. You can see it's a little busy in here. Lots of wires coming and going, but what we're really looking for, the important stuff, is double taps. Now, as a home inspector, what I want to do is I want to check these to make sure they're alive, that we don't have any dead leads in here. And that's just extra wire that has the potential to become a fire hazard. Those should be removed, capped off, and blocked properly. Because everything is permitted and verified by the county, we don't see any double taps in here, which is exactly what we want. We're also looking up to make sure that we have the right gauge wire coming into the house. We have 4-aught aluminum wire, which is perfect. We have a bonding strap, which means that we have 240 volts supplied to the house. And this is what we're looking to see right here. Here's your 4-aught, and then this is your grounding wire. All 3 of these in conjunction mean that's a 240 volt, 200 amp system. You can see the 200 amp right there as well. All right, so we're outside enjoying the beautiful Pacific Northwest weather. As usual, it blessed us with rain today. Being in the Pacific Northwest, you have a few considerations that you don't really have when you're back east or down south if you're coming up from California. And that is all the rain we get to enjoy. It's beautiful, makes you happy, it wears down on your house. You can see right here that we have a little bit of extra moss growth on the roof. This is kind of unique to the Pacific Northwest as far as I know. A big thing that we can do here to really make sure that we maximize the lifespan of our house and the roof is that we treat it with anti-moss at least once a year. Again, this is a Pacific Northwest thing. If you also look, you'll see some gutters, and gutters collect debris as part of it. We have our gutter cycle in the Pacific Northwest. I call it the 3-year cycle. First year you get leaves, the second year you get mulch, the third year you get soil. We want to kind of get this cleaned out and make sure that everything's flowing properly, so that way we don't have any growth, we don't have trees, we don't have flowers growing out of our gutters, and that we're moving water as effectively as possible away from the home. You can see that we have a couple of downspouts right here, which is what we want. We want the right number of downspouts to maximize the efficiency of the gutter system. That's moving water down and into the ground. We have a trench here, and that'll move the whole gutter, all that water away and down and out the side of the hill. Behind us right here, we have a heat pump, which is actually the exact same thing as an air conditioner. The only difference is there's a small valve in there called the bidirectional valve. And what that does is it shuttles between the inside and the outside position. And basically what we're doing now is we're pulling ambient heat in, moving it in, and exhausting that heat inside the plenum, inside the AC system. Now normally what you would be doing is you'd be dumping the heat here and putting the cold air on the inside. This is the exact opposite. During the summer, that valve will swap to the other side, and we'll start removing heat from here and dumping cold air inside, which is why it's called a heat pump system. We're literally just transferring heat from the inside to the outside and vice versa. So this is a great system to use year-round. You don't have to run any extra heating bills or utilities. It works all the way down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, which is what you want. So, because it very rarely gets below that in this area. So, and this is a great example of something that we need to work on right here. We have our dryer exhaust within 3 feet of the heat exchanger. So what this is doing is pulling in air and heating it up or cooling it down. And because we have exhaust coming in here, we're going to have lint built up on this. Lint is highly flammable, and it does require periodic cleaning. Being aware that it's right here, we know that we need to clean this more frequently than once a year. And if at all possible, we can reduct this so that it comes outside of the 3-foot envelope of where we want to be from our heat exchanger. So another big job for home inspectors is to check the foundation of the house. This house has 50 years on it, so we're looking for signs of cracking. Now, a good example of that is that while it looks minor here, you can see the small crack right here, how it's wider on the bottom or wider on the top and gets narrower towards the bottom. That's the leveraging crack, so it shows us where the movement is in the house. Part of being a good homeowner is making sure that you follow up on that crack. You want to check it out, take a picture of it, and compare it to what it looks like year after year, because the average homeowner sells their home after 7 years. So you want to be able to say, hey, this crack hasn't changed in 7 years, so next time you have a buyer coming over to inspect your house. Cedar shake siding is very popular in the Pacific Northwest. It's a great look, it complements the houses in the area. This is where Craftsman cottages really flourish. This does require a little bit of maintenance. Periodic maintenance, oiling, sealing it up will greatly extend the life of it. Behind me, you see that we have a large deck right here. So decks are always they're a huge obstacle for home inspectors. One, normally we don't get this view of it, and this is a great view for us to be able to examine a deck at. Very rarely does it work out to be this nicely. One thing we're looking at is you can see where the bolts tie into the ledger board. Bolts want to be offset, you don't want them in a straight row. The staggering helps to give them strength by providing multiple areas to tie into instead of having one structural failure point. The preferred method for deck construction now is a freestanding structure. Because it's a freestanding structure, you're not relying on the house to provide any support. And because we're not relying on the house to provide any support, we can ensure the structural stability of the deck by itself, and it doesn't depend on anything else to support it. That's very important.
Thank you so much for giving us a tour of what a home inspection consists of. I have a couple questions for you. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, so if I ordered a home inspection, am I allowed to attend?
We always recommend that you come with us. Home inspections are driven by the people that are buying the house. Having said that, you're going to have questions that we may not think to ask because this is number 500 for our inspections.
Right.
So it's definitely an education process. There's a lot of give and take.
Okay.
Being able to show you what's going on with the house is really important because a lot of people can hear stuff and not attach it to the problem that they're seeing until they have a person literally put the two of them together. And that side-by-side comparison really drives home the education. And this is an education-based service. So,
okay.
Absolutely.
How long does a home inspection take?
Home inspections, we ask for at least 2 hours, depending on the condition of the house, and the knowledge of the person purchasing the house. If you're a first-time home buyer, we're going to spend 3 hours going through that entire home and making sure that you're completely comfortable going in. This is a second, third home. It's a new home in really good condition. We can go through there in 2 hours, make sure that all the boxes are checked and that you're comfortable with what you're getting. And that neither of those really impede the service that we're providing.
Okay.
It's really about the education that we're providing in addition to the inspection, which drives the time.
Perfect. So I know you're all thinking this. How much does it cost?
So home inspections run between $450 to $1,100.
Okay.
And that really depends on the quality of the service that you're asking for, and not the quality of the inspection so much as the additions that we provide. Our basic inspection is what you'd expect. It comes with a binder. We make sure that all the questions are answered and that everybody's happy. When we get up to the next level of service, we bring in more tools like infrared cameras, special moisture detectors, stuff like that. We're looking more for water infiltration, and because we use those other tools, it costs a little bit more. The third and final package is $1,150, and the reason that one's so expensive is because we bring in air quality samples. We're pulling historical samples of dust from the house. So that's for people that have severe allergies and asthma, and we really want to make sure that they're taken care of, but that does entail a lot of lab work, which
but it's beneficial.
It is
to
beneficial.
Those in need. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. If and if your children have really severe allergies, we want to make sure that the indoor air quality is just as good as the outdoor air quality, that we're not building up toxins and volatile organic compounds and allergens in the house.
Okay.
So that's why we pull those historical samples.
Okay, so we're given your report. How do we decipher it?
So that's part of our education. We will print this report on site and go over every page of it with you.
Okay.
The big part of our report is that it's broken up into 2 parts, which is the primary report. We also include a summary. That summary is health hazard items as well as big ticket items that you need to go through. If we find a roof that's on the edge of its lifespan and it's on its last legs, we're going to tell you to budget for that roof, because depending on the size of your roof, you could be spending $5,000–6,000.
All right, so if you point out some things that need to be repaired, do you suggest how much it might cost?
So we don't offer any definitive answers just because there is a wide range. We do offer a cost guide, and this piece of paper actually includes 2019-2020 national construction averages.
Perfect.
Being in the Washington area, we are a little bit higher on the price range, but it does give you a good estimate based on square footage, size of the project, and the materials that you can expect to pay for those repairs.
Okay, this is great. Thank you, Justin.
Oh, you're
So
welcome.
one last question for you.
Absolutely. What do you got?
How would somebody get a hold of you if they're trying to conduct a home inspection?
So Polaric Post has a link on the bottom. That'll take you straight to our website. We also have our business cards.
Great.
On the back of it is a QR code. If you scan that, that takes you straight to our booking website, and you can reserve anytime. We try to have 4 appointments open every day. 2 in the morning at 10:30 and 2 in the afternoon at 2:30. If you have anything outside of that, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll get you in wherever we need to.
Perfect. Well, I want to thank you again for coming and helping explain what a home inspection entails.
It was really a pleasure. I really thank you.
I think I've learned a lot, and hopefully you have as well.